Hello everyone, welcome to Rachel Pichler Yoga. Just in case we haven't met before, my name is Rachel. Today we've got a short and sweet practice and we're going to focus on our lower back today. So find some space to move and let's get started. So we are going to begin laying down. You can find your way flat on your back. You can start as well with our knees bent and our feet planted about hip width apart, or maybe even a bit wider than that. But just notice if you can connect the low back to the ground, and then maybe sway your knees side to side a little bit and trying to keep the low back touching down. And kind of giving it just a gentle massage as you move the knees, maybe the hips a little bit. And just going for a nice long spine here by keeping the low back connected to the ground. Now we're going to slow down that sway of the knees. We're going to lift our hips just up a little bit and move them over to the right side. Now our knees are going to tip over towards the left. You can move your feet too so that your knees tip more to the left side so that we're twisting. And if you need to adjust your shoulders, reach your arms out wide. But mostly letting the knees tip to the left side and trying to turn the hips so we feel twist through the spine. And we can open up through the low back. Now take just another breath with your knees on this side. And then we're going to lift them back up, but you're going to plant your feet on the ground. Just lift the hips a little bit so you recenter yourself, connect the low back to the ground again. Maybe add a gentle sway of the knees, but trying to keep the low back touching down so it's a little tuck of the tailbone under almost. A little bit of effort to massage that low back. And then we're going to lift our hips, move them to the left side of the mat a bit, and then you can tip the knees, the legs over to the right. You can move your feet over to the right, adjust your shoulders as needed. Feel that twist through your spine. And then slowly starting to lift your legs back up. Plant your feet. Touch your low back to the ground again. Maybe add a gentle sway of your knees. And then decide if you want to rock forwards or roll over to one side, but we are going to come all the way up onto our hands and knees. So into tabletop. You might give your hips a little bit of a sway side to side. Our right foot is going to be coming forwards in front. Just a moment or two in a lunge. Sinking into the hips because our low back is connected to the hip flexors. So let's open up there as well. Just let those hips sink forward, sink down. Soften throughout your shoulders. Just another breath on this side, and then we are going to switch. So you can bring your right leg back, left foot can come forwards. Sinking into that right hip flexor. Awesome work, you guys. Take just another breath on this side. And then we're going to find our way back and into tabletop. You might give your hips a little bit of a sway. And then we're going to tuck our toes under. So we're lifting our knees up. And I want you to walk your feet and your hands together so that you end up in a forward fold. You can have your feet hip width apart, maybe even a little bit wider than that, but bend your knees. Bend your knees so that your chest is maybe heavier, closer to the ground than your hips, so that we can open up our low back. Let your head, your chest, your arms, everything, take all that weight off of your low back by hanging heavy, folding forwards. You might add a little bit of movement here, a little shift of the weight forwards and back. Maybe even side to side, a little bit of a sway, or no movement at all. But if you can let the chest be heavier, closer to the ground than the hips, the low back, create some nice openness there. Now just another breath here. Now if you can bend your knees more so that you can bring your hands to the ground. We're just going to walk the hands forwards a bit, walk the feet back a little bit. Just a quick breath and downward facing dog. And then you can lower your knees down to tabletop. You can cross your ankles and have a seat. Just bringing your legs in front of you. Give your knees a little bit of a hug or a squeeze. Take a rock side to side. Just notice how you feel so far. Coming from a standing position, a forward fold, you might want to stay seated a little bit longer. You might be okay with finding your way onto your back again. You might be bringing your knees to your chest. Give them a hug. You might add a gentle rock or sway side to side and still keep the low back touching the ground and massage it. You can stay here or you can lift your feet higher and maybe lift your low back off of the ground. Come into a reclined forward fold. If you did lift the low back, any amount, just very slowly start to bring it back down. Maybe give your knees another hug towards your chest. You can either sway here or you can pause. But feel your low back connected to the ground. Your spine is as long as it can be. You still have your feet lifted. You can bring them down. Maybe the feet out a little bit wider and maybe sway your knees side to side and tuck your tailbone under a little bit so that you can massage the low back against the ground. Our knees are going to be tipping over towards the left side one more time. You might scoot your hips to the right first and then tip your knees over. Finding another twist. You can lift your legs all the way back up. At the same time, you might slide your hips just over to the left a bit, and then your knees, your feet can tip over. Move over to the right. Awesome work, you guys. Lift your legs back up. Come out of your twist. Plant your feet again. Maybe one final massage for the low back. Sway your knees. You might stay here, knees bent, feet planted. You might send your legs long. Spread your feet out wide too. Just let your legs relax a little bit. Let your back arch a little bit if it wants to arch a little bit. Let everything be effortless. You rest your arms by your sides as well. And just, again, take a moment to pause. And notice how you feel. And maybe stay here longer. Enjoy a few moments in Shavasana. Thank you so much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your day, and until next time, namaste.